Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Very, very quick break there. We are right back in with the action. We're going to be showing you the cards to watch for the first game. We are showing you today the UK National Champions, which is going to be a Viserai versus Bravo. A few cards for you to look out for on the field of play, and we'll talk about what impact they can have in this particular matchup. So, yeah, good morning to you all, and let's get stuck straight in with Viserai Runeblood. Sean, I remember you played a little bit of Viserai back in the day, so tell me about these cards you're seeing on the screen right now.
Man, I mean, okay, let's just start with the boogeyman here. Rosetta Thorn, we all know it. That one resource coming in for 2 physical damage and 2 arcane damage. I mean, it's just an absolute menace, and that's the exact reason why we'll be seeing it join Briar in LL when the Living Legend points roll over, right? But then also that Revel in Runeblood, conditional, but just being able to 0 resources create those 4 rune chants. It can just be overwhelming pressure sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And then moving over to the Swarming Gloomveil, I mean, I think we've all been on the receiving end of multiple Swarming Gloomveils. It can pair really nicely into the rest of Viserai's card pool. Some of those more challenging turns can certainly feature a combination of Swarming Gloomveil and Reveling Runeblood and Rosetta on the end of a combat chain just to I guess top it all off.
Absolutely. And we're going to see Viserai come up against the classic hero from Welcome to Rave, Bravo Showstopper. You've probably seen it many times before. The Guardian hero that knows how to hit very hard and to pummel their opponents into submission. Going to be looking to set up a little bit of disruption, but going to be able to rely on the new card Starstruck as well. Being able to shut down attacks with base greater than being able to shut down attacks that Viserai is going to want to play. Viserai needs to do some attacking, though Viserai can sit back and create rune chants as well. Crippling Crush, it's a classic card that if you hit, you discard. Just discard 2 random cards. Viserai can do work with a 2-card hand, but he's not going to want to take 11 damage to do it. And of course, you've got Pummel over the top. But the one thing we need to bear in mind with Guardian is they do have a very high blue card density in the deck, going to be able to deal with those rune chants very efficiently. Not going to have to worry like Dramai might do, or a more red line deck like Fi, when they might not have the blue in hand to pitch to rune. Rune chants and arcane damage, so really going to be able to capitalize on that. Difficult matchup for Viz Journey, says Magma Cherry in the chat. I agree. But we got some top players here. We're going to expect the best Viserai and the best Bravo. Though, of course, a lot of these players, we don't know what their record was going into the draft. I think Jason Robb, I can't remember if he was a 1-2 or a 2-1 and did very well out of the draft to get back up to the top tables. Probably a 2-1, to be fair. So we'll see how they adapt back to the CC portion of the game.
Absolutely. But that's what it's all about, right? You can step into, a lot of players went into that draft maybe with the not the best start to the day yesterday after 3 rounds of CC. They walked into draft and they were like, I need to nail this. Yeah. If I want to make day 2 and be competitive and be pushing for that top 8, I need to pull out the best draft possible. And these 2 players certainly did so.
Yeah, today it's all about the Classic Constructed. It's going to be 3 rounds of Swiss that's then going to cut to a top 8 to be crowned the UK National Champion. It's a big deal in the UK. We've had Matt Folks, winner of the first UK National Champions, then went on to win Pro Tour 2 in Lille. And we've had George Rogers, who went on to finish 9th place at the Calling Birmingham. 2 great players of the game, 2 figureheads of the game. And we're looking to crown a 3rd winner. Or possibly one of those. Matt Folks again seems to be in contention. I'm not sure that George is going to go for it this time. But today, and this game in particular, it's all about Damon and Jason right now, seeing how they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt, for just letting everybody know that in the chat there, that this is certainly a matchup that I practiced many a time when I was on my Runeblade, back in my Runeblade days, the old heydays. Bravo matchup was always a bit tough. It's just like you said, just that such a heavy density of those blue cards to be able to just prevent an awful amount of the arcane damage by pitching to arcane
and just
barrier.
Good blocking as well. Bravo really capable of shutting down a lot of what Viserai wants to do. Back in the old days, you had access to Skeletor. You could build something big. If Bravo was trying to do a bit more of a control, you could just set up with Skeletor, go over the top. You could kind of do that to everybody, and that's why that card is no longer in the game, because it was too good, unfortunately, for the meta. But the other thing, of course, is that Jason, he's going to be trying to do a little bit of disruption here, going to try and hit some cripplings and try and hit with a new card Starstruck, trying to make sure that Damon can't set up one of his sort of big, massive turns as Viserai. And Damon's going to have to think, well, if I'm not able to do a huge turn, what can I do to generate as many rune chances as possible? So on a follow-up turn, I can go over the top. That is the one thing that Viserai can do, can kind of break the rules of the game a little bit by going above, the normal amount of damage you would normally be able to do in a turn by sort of banking damage for a following turn. We've obviously got Hamish Chisholm Brown. I've pushed a point, big Viserai player, done a lot of Viserai deck techs. A lot of people in the UK fell in love with Viserai because of some of the content that Hamish was producing. So it's always good to see a Viserai on stream, and it's always good to see a Viserai in contention for the top 8 of the UK Championship.
Yeah. And Viserai has sort of fallen out of favour throughout the Nationals season, right? We haven't really seen him sort of produce too many big results, and I think that comes down to, we've actually seen, like you said, Hamish has actually moved away from Viserai in the UK Nationals, as has equally famed and renowned Viserai player Alex Chitu has also moved over to Briar. So we're seeing typical Viserai players who have seen an awful lot of success with Viserai over the recent years, even actually moving away from Viserai. So really interested to see what Damon has in the locker here to really try and push through to that top 8 and see success with Viserai today.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. And as you mentioned in the cards to watch, Rosetta Thorn is out. Briar is Living Legend now, and with Briar going into Living Legend, that means that Rosetta Thorn will go with her. And Rosetta Thorn has been a big part of what has made Viserai go sort of over the top from being more of a mid-tier. I mean, I hate to say it, but before Skeletor was around, kind of a lower-tier hero. And then when Rosetta came out, it really made the math add up. Back when it was Nebula Blade, the 2 cost of Nebula Blade was a little bit too much. And the 1 for 3 from the other weapon, Reaping Blade, was just not as effective as you wanted it to be. The 2 physical and 2 arcane of Rosetta is really difficult for other heroes to deal with, and of course in the late game, if you can't prevent 2 arcane, if you're only running AB1, it can be a death sentence. But so this could be one of the last times that you actually see Rosetta Thorn on a stream of Flesh and Blood. We don't know. I think it will probably be, there might be a couple more national championships next weekend. I'm not actually sure if there are, but this could be the last time you get to witness the power of Rosetta Thorn in action as we see the players cut the deck, and we'll be moving shortly to turn 1 of the game. Jason just giving a little shuffle there.
And we yet to see, the equipment that both players are bringing into the game whilst they're just getting set up. But I'm curious to see just exactly how much Arcane Barrier, or what piece of Arcane Barrier that Jason's going to bring to this game.
Yeah, I'm interested as well whether he decides to run, for example, he could run Hammer and Arcane Lantern and then maybe Null Rune Boots. I'd be interested to see if he does go up to AB2 just to make sure he's completely shutting out the Rosetta. But if he does go for AB1, might show that he's actually going to try and take a more aggressive stance here, trying to be in control of the game, not just try to block out.
For sure. Both players just making sure that they are happy with their opponent's shuffling and their opponent's decks here. I'm going to bring you the very first round of Day 2 UK Nationals 2023.
Jason does appear to be counting the opponent's deck. Just trying to check to see like how many cards that he's running. Is Matt Fogg still in contention for top 8? Yes, Matt Fogg
absolutely.
Is. He was 2-1, I think, coming out of the... It might have actually been 1-2. I can't remember if he was 1-2 or 2-1. I think he was in the same pod as Hamish, so he probably was 2-1 coming out of the CC portion of the first 3 rounds, and then did very well in the draft.
I think he finished around like in the top 20, somewhere around
he was
13,
20,
14,
yeah.
something like that. So yeah, absolutely. Matt Folks is very much come prepared for pushing for top 8 today. Absolutely.
You still got to, convert it though. A lot of players on 7-2. A lot of players on 6-3, trying to go 3 wins to try and get into the top 8. It is really a matter of finishing X3 today to put yourself in contention for the top 8. We do see Jason put down the shield rather than going for Arcane Lantern. He's going to run Null Rune gloves and Null Rune boots. So I want to kind of try and use his shield. Of course, the Rampart, if the opponent does break the chain and you block with it, you can bring it back to block again. So quite a good card against Runeblades when they do occasionally break the chain to play a non-attack action card, for example. Though Damon can get around that by trying to play some of his non-attacks at instant speed, which he is incentivized to do so. And Sean, what are we seeing on the Runeblade side, on the Viscera side? What kind of equipment has Damon put down today?
So I guess kicking us off, this Damon's brought that Rosetta Thorn, the ever deadly Rosetta Thorn, along with Crown of Providence. We've got Grasp of the Arcanite. We've got those Creepers for the boots, and Didactic. That's not a card we've often seen since the release from Dusk Till Dawn. But Damon's kicking us off here. Mordred Tide, absolute classic, staple card for Viscerai. Very much a card to watch in this matchup, along with Maruvian Skies into. Definitely Duet.
I think it's definitely Duet. We've got it's not as clear on the table, so we'll try and get the cards to come up on the left-hand side as they're played.
So coming in for 6 and arcane damage as well. Jason pitch into the arcane damage, and then is looking to block out the 6 damage from Deathly Duet. A lovely card from for Viscerai here. And
Viscerai is going to be able to push some damage through here because it looks like Jason's last card in hand is a Sigil. And it's going to be pushing for 6 damage here from Rosetta and 2 Rune Chants. He is going to have to sink 2 because of the 1 remaining resource he had to pitch to Arcane. Then he's probably just going to use the Sigil later on to heal that back up. Damon deciding to go very aggressive here. It's always an indicator when your opponent chooses not to Arsenal going first. Viscerai always has access to, just making a few Rune Chants, pitching to Grasp, for example. Which is would have been a line, I think. Could have gone Mordred and then pitched into the Grasp and then played the Morph Skies and just to create a bunch of Rune Chants, for example.
Yeah.
But he decided to push through and has taken 2 points of damage off Jason. But I think Jason's still pretty happy about that, especially seeing a Morph Skies early on. Morph Skies, big power card for Viscerai. Being able to play that into something huge could be one of the ways that this Viscerai player tries to go over the top of the Guardian. And as we were saying at the start of this game, it's a really tough matchup for Viscerai. And looking at what Jason, we said if Jason chooses to run AB2, he's probably going to go for a more defensive build. And looking at the cards that we're going to see something big here, by the way. It's going to go for a more defensive, but if you have it, play it, right. Goes for the Dominator Crippling Crush. Why not? If you draw into it, play it. Yeah.
Jason activates Bravo there, giving his next Guardian attack Dominate, and then comes in with that Crippling Crush. There's not many heroes who like to see a Crippling Crush coming straight to their face. Viscerai, one of them. So 11 damage coming at Damon here. If it deals 4 or more damage, activates that crippling effect or crush effect. And he has to discard 2 random cards.
Yeah. Kieran in the chat saying, I'm pretty surprised to see the use of Mordred. Yeah, would it be maybe interesting to Arsenal the Mordred and save it for a follow-up turn? But this crippling is going to put a bit of a spanner in the works anyway. Damon not going to want to take a huge amount of damage. As I was saying, Bravo going to play more defensively, and then it comes out the gates with a Crippling Crush. I mean, if you have the 3 blues and the Crippling, right, you're not going to not play, eh? So, not going to Arsenal this turn, obviously, from Jason, but it's going to be very happy about this turn of events anyway.
I mean, for Jason, that opening hand, he's seen one of Damon's most powerful cards in the form of the Mordred Tides into the skies. He's quite happy to block that out, draw up for his next hand.
I mean,
and then present a dominated Crippling Crush.
He did.
Very nice.
He just drew into the Crippling. Like, he didn't know that's what he's going to draw into. But he's happy to block out anything turn 1. And he's probably pretty happy that he actually got to use all the cards in his hand because it's led to this turn. Like, if Damon had just created a bunch of Rune Chants and passed, Jason would have been left with not this hand. But you never know what the Bravos player is going to draw into, of course. But it's a pretty good outcome. And he's actually going to sink all of his equipment on this really early. This is going to be music to Jason's ears. That he's already seeing the Crown of Providence being popped and the 2 block off the Dyadic and the 2 block off the Grasp being used this early. Jason's just going to feel very happy about this. Good outcome, even though he's going to shut down the Crippling.
So we see Damon there activate the ability of Crown of Providence. So when you block with Crown of Providence, you can essentially sink a card from your arsenal or from your hand. And I mean, without a card in his arsenal, that's maybe not the most efficient use of Crown of Providence, but Damon certainly here seeing or worried about the threat that is being presented by that crippling crush.
The thing
Decided
is
to
that
activate
Damon doesn't
all of
want to
his
sit
equipment.
back. He doesn't want Bravo to start rolling and letting Bravo have 4-card hands continuously, 5-card hands potentially.
Yeah.
Looks like actually
Is that another crippling crush?
it
in hand?
is. I can't tell what the second card is, whether it's
Ooh.
another blue, but it's looking like Jason's looking in a good position here. Damon going to try and
Damon,
strip a card out of
3
Jason's
cards in hand.
but I mean, you saw the players shuffle their deck to the end of time, so clearly Damon didn't shuffle it enough.
So comes in, and now we see the Swarming Gloomveil activated.
So this is the decision point
With
here
the
for
mouths,
Jason. If he does have the 3 blues and the crippling in hand, he might have gone into this matchup thinking, I'm gonna play defensively, but you know, it's a decision here for him to make. Does he want to keep pushing damage? Looks like he doesn't. It looks like he's going to respect this, play into his game plan of blocking out and not getting too greedy. I can't actually see the second candidate's hand. Obviously, if that is a red, he wouldn't be able to play the crippling. Anyway.
So Jason here just deciding to pitch to the Arcane Barrier. He's going to block out that Swarming Gloomveil with the shield and a block from hand, and then Rosetta Thorn for 2/2 and 1 Arcane Rune Chant coming in as well. So 5 in total.
Yeah.
We'll see what Jason does here. Like you say, it seems to be that he was quite happy with the cards that he was given.
Yeah, decided
at the
not
start,
to
yeah.
take the damage here, but obviously with the Morph Skies coming down, was going to represent a lot more arcane damage if he didn't block that Swarming Gloomveil. Probably just going to see him pitch to Arcane here. He does have AB2
Pitches to
to
Arcane.
deal with the Rune Chant and the 2 Arcane of Rosetta, and then he's probably just going to block here. Yeah, going to respect the block, not going to be greedy, not going to try and arsenal that Crippling Crush, because that's his game plan, you know, when you open with the Crippling Crush and you think to yourself, okay, maybe I'm the aggressor, it could be tempting when you see the next one to be, I'm going to keep going. But Jason's got
Or
a
even
plan.
Arsenal it ready for the next round, right? But
or
he's
even Arsenal, but
respecting his life
he
totals.
wants to just keep blocking. He wants to play this really defensively, and that's the deck he's got. He can't rely on continually getting the on-hit effects. So clearly, he's running a more defensive build.
Yeah. So Jason there just passes, draws up to 4, and back over to Damon here.
Because if
who's
you think
looking at his hand,
if
he's
you think to yourself, Sean, if Jason had decided to keep that hand of 3 blues and a crippling, he would have taken I think it was something like 4 damage from the swarming,
and then 5.
and then the morph skies would have created another. I think the swarming was coming in for 3, but if the swarming had hit, I would have created another 4 rune chants. Another 3 rune chants, sorry, from the morph skies hitting. The Rosetta was then coming in for 4 and 8, 4 and 4,
total.
so 8 in total. So Jason would have lost a ton of life that turn if he had decided to clap back with the crippling. That's just not the way he wants to play this game. He wants to play defensively. So it could be really tempting to think, oh man, back-to-back crippling crush, why not? But he's got a game plan, he's sticking to it, and that's the sign of a player who knows how well they want to play this game.
Yeah, and Jason may be also thinking about the density of threats in his deck as well, right? I know we talked about Crippling Crush being one of the cards to watch in this matchup, but I mean, Bravo just has some big threats still within his deck. He's able to produce those big attacks and dominate them on a stick as well with his ability. So Eamon here, I think just Arsenal and past. So Jason maybe has a bit of an opening. I know you said he's playing defensively, but there's maybe a bit of an opportunity here to present some damage and put Eamon in a bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah, I kind of I assumed Damon just didn't have a hand there. He just left Jason with a 4-card hand. Jason's still sitting on 38. Didn't have a card in Arsenal, so yeah, clearly Damon must have bricked. Now Jason can think what he wants to do about that. He's going to heal up a little bit, take himself up to 41. He's got a Warmongers, so he might just play this out and Arsenal. Yeah.
So again, this might sort of cause Damon to again brick a hand, right?
Yeah, because
why is Warmongers so efficient?
The thing is, Sean, is
this,
that
right?
if your Runeblade opponent just passes to you, basically the read is that they've got all non-attacks in hand. So if you play the Warmongers, you know that they're even if they want to play one of those non-attacks, that even if they like we see that David has a Sonata, for example, could draw into attack. But now what is he going to do? Even if he draws into attack, he can't play it because he can't play both the Sonata and attack in the same turn. So Jason has completely locked Damon out of this game right now for this particular turn. Damon's essentially skipped 2 turns because I'm not sure what he's going to do here. Maybe try and make a rune chance somehow with some non-attacks, but he's not going to be able to swing back. And he doesn't. He decides to go for war anyway. So all he's going to be able to do here is just swing for 6.
So Damon there just arsenaled the Amplify the Arknight in the previous round. Has been put in a situation really with the choice of war from the Warmongers. Simply allows him just to play out the Amplify the Arknight. But maybe not, you know, he was trying to set up for a big turn with the Amplify the Arknight in Arsenal, but then he's just not able to as a result of that Warmongers. So 2 turns here, maybe this isn't quite going the way that Damon would want right now, right?
At least Damon had an attack that he could get into the Arsenal there.
Yeah,
He was able to do something on this turn. It's not the end of the world, you know. Swinging for 7 in mixed damage is not the end of the world. But Jason, this is easy stuff for Jason to deal with.
Jason just having to think about his block here and keep his life total high. He's also got that card in Arsenal as well.
Jason looks like he wants to maybe play out the Starstruck.
So he's just going to block for 3. Take 3. Did he also take the arcane damage from the,
Yeah, he didn't pitch,
1 rune
so
chant
it
as
must
well?
have done, yeah. Remember, Jason is also on war. When you play the Warmonger's Diplomacy, you know, you also have to choose for your next turn as well. So Jason may be incentivized to use this opportunity to attack. Gonna use the Rouse the Ancient. So he's actually going to put on a lot of pressure here. Going to reveal the Starstruck, which is going to be enough here to give the Rouse the Ancients +7 attack and go again by revealing 13 power in his hand. And Jason will be able to follow up with another attack after this, putting a little bit of pressure on Damon. And Jason only really taking, I think it was 3 damage in the end to do so. Looks like he used his Tunic counter actually to prevent the 1 rune chant on the previous turn, which, you know, clearly, you know, had the resources to be able to play something out this turn with the Rouse. So was happy to just use that Tunic counter to essentially heal 1 from the rune chant. But Damon does appear to have some defense reactions, but he's going to still take 3 damage here.
So 3 damage coming in, 7 go again on that Rouse the Ancients. Obviously conditional. Rouse the Ancients actually comes in for 0. But it does need you to reveal at least 13 damage power cards in your hand in order to be able to activate that 7 go again ability. And then just comes in Titan's Fist, Hammer for 4.
Mm-hmm. And Jason just going to get this Starstruck in the Arsenal. Not necessarily going to play it out, but maybe he'll move it around with Crown of Providence at some point. But if he is given another opportunity like he was given earlier in the game when Damon gave him a bit of space, I guess he could play it out, but not with the hand that he's drawn. Actually, it's a pretty awkward hand.
Yeah, a lot of defense reactions in Jason's hand there.
It's also a lot of red cards. So if Damon comes in this turn with a large number of arcane damage, Jason might have a little bit of trouble. Probably got the Staunch there that he can pitch. Can't see the color of the Staunch. Assume it's the blue. But if so, that will probably get pitched to Arcane and then use the defense reactions and the Sigil to try and not end this turn with too much damage being taken. But maybe it's a red Staunch, can't tell. Probably would be a blue.
Damon's opened his turn with a Sonata Arcanix. Absolutely wonderful card. I love the art on this card. But what he's done there is he's simply revealed the top 3 cards of his deck. He's looking for an attack and a non-attack card in those 3. And then he's able to take one of those attack action cards and add it to his hand. So he's setting up maybe for a wider turn here, especially with that Movs guys in hand as well.
We did see him hit an attack as well, and that Sonata is also going to deal 1 arcane damage to Jason. And we didn't see Jason pitch that arcane either. So maybe he is a red Staunch. You think that maybe he would pitch the blue at this point, but maybe he just doesn't want to reveal at this point that that's what he's planning on doing. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get the Starstruck out unless he decides to commit the Crown of Providence this turn. Maybe he will, because he doesn't have any way of playing it. Might just want to, you know, cycle a card into his hand, especially if he needs another blue. But he does have this covered really well with the Sink coming in for 4.
Yeah, and Rune Flash a lovely Viserai card again, able to reduce the cost of Rune Flash by the amount of rune chance you control. And here we see the Revel in Rune Blood card to watch coming down, creating 4 rune chance itself, and then a 5th using Viserai's ability, and then presents that lovely Rosetta Thorn for 2, 2, and then 6 rune chance.
Yeah, this is
So
really
10
awkward for
damage coming in
Jason
here.
because he does seem to have this staunch, I think, is a blue, so maybe able to prevent some here, but the other 2 cards in hand are red, though the Sigil is essentially a prevent 3 arcane damage by healing for 3.
And there's the blue.
Oh, it was a disable. I swore it was staunch. Sorry if it was a... My bad. I thought it was a staunch in hand, but turns out it's a blue disable, so he's pretty happy there anyway.
So pitches 3, takes 2 takes
Takes 3
2
arcane. You know, it was 6.
takes
It was
3
6
rune
It was
chance,
6
2
rune
arcane.
chance. So he took 3 arcane from the rune chance, and he's going to take another 2 arcane from.
Uses a sync below to cover up the physical damage of the Rosetta, and then plays. That's his 3rd sigil now. So Jason out of sigils of Solace, gaining 3 life.
You sink the staunch. Thank you, Towering Titan. Yeah, I wasn't losing my mind. And it's worth pointing out that in that turn, all that damage, and Jason has come down not down to 29. He played the sigil, so yeah, he's back up. Thank you,
Back
to 35.
up to
So after all of
35.
that, I was just trying to make a point, and the live titles were going all over the place. My point was that after all of that effort from Damon on that turn, even on a hand where Jason had a bunch of reds, and was able to finish that turn by only taking 2 damage. So had it covered, it looked pretty rubbish, but just because of the way that he could cover the arcane damage with Sigil, was able to sink the staunch to fetch a blue, was able to deal with that turn very effectively, taking 2 damage. But of course, Damon coming back with a 4-card hand here. You do have to think to yourself, Sean, that maybe Damon needs to start setting something up in the arsenal rather than playing these 4-card hands out. Maybe needs to try and get something in the arsenal, try and do a mid-turn, and then try and come back with a 5-card hand, because, you know, look at what he just did on the previous turn to the grand total of 2 damage to Jason. Pretty rough.
He's going to be burning through threats quite quickly if he's not able to produce some wider turns. So he's opened up here with a Rattlebones, and Rattlebones allows the Viserai player to go digging through his graveyard. He can bring an attack action card and banish it, which he can play out this turn. So he's pulled back that Swarming Gloomveil, pitches 2 to the Rattlebones. Swarming Gloomveil costs 0 resources, so he's able to come in with 4 go again, creating the 1 rune chant. And has already created 1 rune chant as well this turn, so that's 2 rune chants, which activates Swarming Gloomveil as a 4 go again here. You see Jason is pitching to Arcane Barrier, and then he's activating the Rampart as well as blocking with his 3rd Crippling Crush in order to cover up the Swarming Gloomveil. Then Rosetta again for 2, 2, and 1. Won't be hearing that for much longer. Rosetta hitting Living Legend along with Briar. We see Jason pitching again to block up more of the Arcane Barrier, and then covers up the entire Rosetta Thorn.
And Jason just very happy to see Damon work through these threats, these power cards that he has in the Viserai deck, and taking no damage in the process. Feels very confident with the combination of Arcane Barrier 2, or I should say 2 sources of Arcane Barrier 1, and Rampart, making sure that he can make great use out of his pitch cards whenever he pitches to arcane damage. Even if the Viserai doesn't come in with more than 2, he can always use that last remaining resource to block with Rampart as well. So very, very confident looking Jason right now. Looks like he's in control of this game, and the chat is also saying the same. 66% of people thinking Bravo's going to win this. You're just looking at the way that Jason is handling these hands from Damon. It just feels very confident and very good. I think we're just going to see Jason settle back, just continue to handle what Viserai is throwing at them, not being too greedy. We've already seen Jason make a sensible decision not to take a bunch of damage to play out a Crippling Crush earlier in the game. Sends the signal that Jason is going to play this very patiently, going to try and dismantle this Viserai turn by turn rather than do a very explosive turn to try and win the game. And we're just letting Damon make a few decision points here, taking a little bit of extra time on this particular turn. Maybe has a little bit of a clunky hand, doesn't know quite how to fit it all together.
Yeah, and as you said, Damon maybe needs to look to set up wider turns here with a card in Arsenal. He's done just that. He's opened his turn by pitching to the Grasp of the Arknight in order to create that first rune chant. He's now having a little think about how he wants to navigate this turn. Pitches a lead the charge there in order to come in with the Deathly Duet for 1 rune chant and 6
Yeah, so definitely duet will
attack.
create 2 rune chants if you pitch a non-attack to play it. So we see there that we Jamin pitching so that he can make a couple of rune chants in the back too, probably setting himself up for a future turn. Just having a think.
If you're joining us in the chat, welcome to day 2 of UK Nationals. We have our first game of 6 today between Jason Rolfe on 7-2 and Damon Elgie also on 7-2. It's been an interesting game so far, but like you said, Jason very much sitting back, soaking up that pressure from Viserai so far. Jason just looking to cover this one up. He's he's been using that tunic as well quite handily just to cover up any additional rune chant damage too, right?
Yep, and he's just going to block 4 here using the tunic to use his ramp up for free. And he looks like he's probably just going to pitch the next 2 cards in his hand to swing hammer for 4. He's got Starstruck and a red Command and Conquer in hand. I guess he could actually swing the Command and Conquer. That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? I'm so obsessed with Bravo swinging that hammer. I don't even see the line where you can actually just play it. Imagine playing an attack as... but yeah, just putting a little bit of pressure here, just forcing Damon maybe to respect this or lose the Arsenal. So why not? Don't have to always swing the hammer. Actually play out an attack now and then. It just seems how Damon deals with this. He so this is the good part of getting that crippling crush earlier in the game from Jason does mean that he stripped Damon of pretty much all of his about half of his armor, I should say. Lost the crown as well, which is one of the best cards you want to play against Command and Conquer to sort of put your arsenal on the bottom of the deck, so Command and Conquer is not destroying a card either. You're not losing a card from it. But because Jason managed to force the crown block early on from the crippling, I think it was just his turn. It was Jason's turn 1 of the game. This Command and Conquer much more impactful.
And Damon looking to respect the Command and Conquer here by blocking it out.
I don't know if I think I'd be interested to in the studio. Is the round timer for this particular game, or is the round timer for the tables in the room? Because I think the stream game did start a little bit later than the table. So it is for the game. Yes, that is interesting because they did sort of hang around for quite a while.
A lot of
game
shuffling.
started. So you'd think maybe they'd want to get stuck into this one pretty quickly because the game basically started at like 49 minutes. So which is not really in anyone's best interest.
It doesn't play to a fatigue plan at all.
Do you need to? Main round is slightly ahead, yeah. But the time is for this particular game just going into 24 minutes. Good point from Kaol. Fatigue. We are running out of time for a fatigue strategy. So Jason may need to actually switch pace if either of these players actually want to win this game. Hopefully we won't see a draw.
So we see Damon here coming in with the Mauve Skies into the Shrill of Skullform. Very efficient card. Pitch for 2. Coming in for 7. Jason here looking to cover up the rune chants, as we've seen time and time again. Damon, as we were expecting really at the start of this game, Trip, you were saying Jason's able to cover up an awful lot of the arcane damage, and Damon's certainly struggling to push that arcane damage through, and coming in with a Rosetta for 2, 2, and 1. Blocks the 1. Jason able to make handy use of the 2 arcane barriers he's brought to the game so far.
Yeah, Jason using a lot of his threats to block with. We've seen him block with a crippling, block with a Starstruck, but I think we've actually seen him block with 2 cripplings. Maybe it was a Spinal Crush, but yeah, I think it's I think Jason's got a plan. I just hope he has enough time to execute it. A bit of a weird one here, it looks like, but in the hand at the moment. Maybe looking at his Arsenal, which I think is still the Starstruck. Maybe thinking maybe I want to play that out at some point, maybe take a little bit of initiative in the game. But if he is running a defensive deck, he does want to run himself through a few of those defensive cards, so he can be a bit more confident of drawing into impactful cards that are going to, influence the game, going to provide disruptive on hits on the Visceral player. But Damon's still sitting on 31 health. Jason's sitting on 34. This game has gone down to 22 minutes already. 30 minutes of the game basically gone.
And neither player taken much damage in the last few rounds. Damon's still struggling to push through any damage. Jason using up his hand in order to block out the threats from Damon. Like you say, 22 minutes left.
Yeah, this is the trouble as well. Both players taking a little bit of time to think about their blocking or think about Damon taking a little bit of time to think about what cards he wants to play. Jason taking a little bit of time to think about their blocking. Did you think, if we're playing this kind of game, we need to put the pace on?
Absolutely. Damon have a little bit of a think about his turn here. Think about pitching that. So pitches the Rune Flash, as well as and just simply comes in
so
with blue attack. So 2 and
Jason,
1.
This would have been a good chance to maybe play out an impactful card here, but he just does not seem to have the resources in hand to do so. Looks like he's got it's hard to see the two cards in the middle, but would have been a good time to maybe slap back with something on this turn, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Jason will be on Tunic resource 1. Yeah, he's got a Fate.
He's looking to cover this up with a Fate Scene.
Maybe he would have played the Sink there and sunk one of the cards, sunk the other defense reaction round.
Damon
He's
just
probably going to play this.
pass.
He's probably just going to play the Spinal Crush out here. He's got enough with the Tunic resource. Kind of think to myself, maybe I would have played the Sink there, sunk the Fate for Scene, hope to draw into a blue, and then maybe use the 2 blues in the Tunic to dominate the Spinal Crush. But
So Spinal Crush coming in here for 9, and if that crush effect goes through, Damon takes 4 or more damage. He will lose Go Again on everything. Absolutely everything. Simply plays out the...
So it looks like Damon's now playing to a more, like we were saying earlier in the game, needs to get a card in Arsenal and start setting up something huge. And looks like that's what he's trying to do. He's made 5 rune chants over the last 2 turns, just trying to build rune chants and try and go over the top of Jason. Damon may be getting the read quicker that, if he wants to win this game, he needs to do something. But in doing so, in having that passive approach, he has given Jason a bit of space here to play out something big. And it looks like he might go for the dominated Starstruck here.
So Damon here looking to build up some rune chants. Jason with the retort. Pitches to dominate with Bravo. And then we see that Starstruck coming down. A card that is an absolute delight for Bravo players to see released with recent Dusk Till Dawn. Damon having a little read here. To be fair, it's a lot of text. Will be quite small. So coming in for 10 damage. Damon having to have a little think here. Again, 26 life, plays 33, 18 minutes left on the round.
Looks like he kept...
Crush effects activated.
I think Fab Chaos, I think he kept Tear for the Arsenal. It looks like he pitched the Warmongers. I think at this point, Jason wants to win. I think at this point, one of these players wants to actually win this game, recognizing that time is running out. But that big attack there did make the life totals a lot different. Really took Damon down to 19. And actually looks like Jason may have drawn into a nice hand, though don't think he has the attack value to do something with Rouse the Ancients. Might try and get that Rouse into the Arsenal set up for another future turn.
I think Damon just played a Movskies there and passed.
Yep, probably because of the hit effect of Starstruck. Yeah, I think I agree, Ethan. I think Jason might decide to switch it up, just recognizing that the fatigue plan, if he had infinite time, he would get it. but he does not have infinite time. He needs to actually push some damage through against Damon, try and make Damon run out of life rather than run out of deck or run out of threats here. Looks like Jason's going to keep the rouse and the card with attack power, hoping to draw into another one on the next turn so he can get it up to 13, come in with the rouse into something else on the following turn. This turn, actually, he'll probably... he'll probably just get the rouse into the arsenal and then try and play that out next turn, put on a bit more pressure, hope to draw into another threat.
Yeah, so Jason playing out big attack here, Thunderquake, coming in for 8. Just looking to push through that damage, as you said. Sees the rouse in hand. He's probably thinking, I can really start to put Damon in a tricky position here. Damon having to think about his block. Looking at this hand, I can see there's a Revel in Rune Blood in there as well.
So this is the impactful thing now, is that Damon's, he's thinking, I can't go down to too low. That puts Jason in a position where he can get a dominated attack over the top. Damon probably still trying to play to his game plan of trying to build as many rune chants as possible. But obviously the Revel not going to really help with that. If you do play the Revel on your turn, you do lose all your rune chants at the end of that turn. Jason looked like he's going to be able to do something on this turn with the Rouse the Ancients in the arsenal and enough attack power to reveal to play that as a 7 go again and then follow up to something else, just trying to push a bit of damage this turn, try and close this game out. The game plan of just controlling the game and working through Damon's threats would work if he had enough time, but this game is down to 15 minutes. Just thinking that the speed of the play is not really sufficient to go for that game plan. Neither of these players wants to get a draw. It really impacts their chances of getting to the top 8 of the UK National Championships. Decides to actually go for the Imposing Visage. Probably going to go for the Showtime.
And then Showtime allows you to search for card and deck. Typically, the target
he's gonna
for this
he's going to search for a threat.
Typically, the target for this is Crippling Crush, right? But he's actually been through all 3. Or the preferred target.
Yeah, I don't think he's even got a Starstruck left in.
So he's having to have a bit of a think here about what he wants to bring.
Interesting choice. I think maybe Jason thought he still had a bigger threat than that in the deck. It doesn't look like it.
Brings out the Debilitate.
Giving Damon a bit of space here. This is a bit passive when he had the... it's probably just a blue here, but he definitely had the 13 to reveal for the rouse, but chooses to go for this play instead. I think he had the 13 for the rouse, surely.
I mean, he had the Visage, and he also...
he will draw in his next turn, but I think... Yeah. Can we get the Imposing Visage up on the screen for us, just to read that again? Yeah, because you put it in the era. It basically, Imposing Visage allows you to search an aura that normally wouldn't have go again, and you put it in the arena. You put it in the arena, and then because Imposing Visage has go again, you can follow up. So a bit of a weird one, but a turn happened, right? He made something happen. Didn't want to play the rouse. Maybe he wants to save that for a little bit later in the game, try to go over the top. But he did give Damon a little bit of space here to do something with the Sonata. But like we were saying earlier in the game, Damon really needs to be playing with 5-card hands to go over the top of Jason's defenses.
Yeah, and he's creating that 5-card hand here really by being able to play out the Sonata Arcanics.
Thank you, Fab Chaos. Can you believe I've only had 2 coffees today as well?
Well, we've got 13 minutes till we can all grab one more, top ourselves up on caffeine. So we see Damon here coming in with the Swarming Gloomveil.
Damon going to make his play here, deciding to cash in. I believe that Damon still has a Revel in the back. Did he only reveal 3, Quim?
I think he may have pitched to the...
Did he make a
I think he pitched to the rune chant. Because otherwise he wouldn't
no, he
have.
couldn't have done. He couldn't have done that because he was on 5 rune chance. They would have cost him like 7, 8 resources to do that. So it must have been that he paid to the Sonata and forgot to reveal 4 cards. But yeah, as Ethan's pointing out, maybe feeling the pressure of the timer here a bit. Both these players want to win a game or at least not end this in a draw. Going to come out with the Revel now, go up to 7 rune chance. I feel like Jason feels pretty happy though still with the amount of life total he has.
So 2, 2, and 7
but
coming in
he's going to
here.
strip out all of Jason's cards.
Does Jason have the time here to really continue with this blocking plan? Is he?
Well, I mean, he has to do something. He doesn't want to take 11 damage here. The thing is, Sean, is that I wonder on that previous play, I really think maybe Jason should have just gone like sent it with the rouse. I like the way of playing, but it's just whether he thinks he can finish it out with this amount of time left in the clock. And Damon now back if the tempo, if he can draw into some decent cards here, try and go over the top again, he might be able to start to swing this back in his favor. But Jason's still very happy to contend with 4-card hands from Damon, especially looking at what Damon's got. It's not looking super fantastic, and he is going to probably commit a card to block here. I think Damon's drawn into a Morph Skies, but not much to do with it. Might need to get that into the arsenal. Yeah, exactly, Shamir. It'd be a very expensive grasp when you've got 5 rune chance in the field of play. Oh, he actually plays the Morph Skies
So plays out the Morph Skies here. Creates
Morph into grasp. And then Arsenal's the other card, decides to not get the Morph into Arsenal. Yeah, I think at this point, Jason needs to step up the tempo. He needs to start hitting hard and hitting fast. He does have the rounds. He's probably going to play that out now. He's on a point now where he can start presenting 14 damage with a 7 and 7, for example. But he might want to push a little bit more damage first. Maybe with a dominated attack. He does have the I think it's cranial. It's not cranial crush, is it? The super rare. Remember when we had super rare, guys? Yeah.
Super rare. So Jason here with an opening. Pitches.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it's.
No, there is a crush of the week there. So I think he did actually have the rounds, but just didn't have the
resources.
No, I think he did. I think he's just trying to push Damon down a little bit lower before he tries to go for the kill.
So Damon here choosing to take the 4, hammer for 4. Damon with an opening of his own now. We see both players have suddenly, it's almost like the feel of the game's suddenly just taken a bit of a turn as both players have recognized time is ticking.
To be honest with Sean, they probably needed to recognize about 5 turns ago, but they are playing much faster now, recognizing that if they don't finish this game, they're both going to draw. You can't really blame either player. They've both been playing at a decent speed, but the game just started a bit late, about 50 minutes. Hammer for hat, indeed. Hat for hammer. It is a very nice hat on Jason Rolfe's head, I must say. Big fan of hats in Fab. We need more of them.
When you got Fab at 10, Day 2 UK Nationals at 10, but fishing at 5. We see Damon.
And I think they have picked up the pace and they've sort of changed. Jason's changed his game plan a little bit to try and push a bit of damage. But it has taken he's taken a little bit in order to do that. Jason probably thinking, what can I do with the hand I've got in front of me? Might try and keep the command and conquer and use the rest to block out this turn. But obviously Damon pushing a lot of damage
a turn for himself.
7 so if the shrill and then 3 rune chance. Looks like a yellow Morph Sky. So if this does hit, he will get 2 more rune chance.
So Jason pitching to cover up the 3.
He'll probably pitch the 2 of it, use the rampart. Oh, he's got 2 left for the XP, the other place. So he's not
and then he's covering up 2 more arcane damage with the rest of his pitch and taking 3 in total. So 10 plays 22, 8 minutes left on the round. Jason just going to pass and draw up, ticks Tunic up to 3, so that Tunic is now primed, ready for the next round. Damon,
Jason's got a really good option here now. He's got 3 blues, he's got a Starstruck, he's got a Tunic counter, and he's got a Rouse the Ancients in the arsenal. He could potentially pitch a blue for the Rouse, use the Tunic and the other 2 blues to follow up with a Starstruck, but obviously would have to take a ton of damage to do so. Let's see what he decides to do on this turn. Yeah, we'll get the winner of this game on it. Well, we might not have time for the winner for an interview after this game, depending on how long this turns out. But Jason now thinking to himself that he does have the gas in hand if he wants to do something on this turn. And Damon's not really thrown down the biggest threat.
No, he just presents 4 physical damage, but the benefit of this Spellblade Assault is that it does create 2 rune chant tokens. So he's looking to maybe present more damage
This is
next turn, but will Jason give him the opportunity to? Damon's only on 10 life here.
Yep. Jason going to use the crown.
Utilizing that crown, cover up some of the damage.
Going to sink the rouse.
Sinks the rouse, draws a card, goes up to 5 in hand. Utilizing that Crown of Providence to its maximum utility.
He did have Rouse Star, but decided to do a bit of blocking instead, probably thinking the Spellbound Creepers is going to come down. This Spellblade Assault is going to result in more. Damon does pitch to reveal more. Actually hits 2 attacks and 2 non-attacks, so he is going to be able to do something on this turn.
And then Jason pitching to prevent the 1 arcane damage from the Sonata Arcanics. So Creepers there being utilized to play the Sonata at instant speed.
Yeah, to reset the action point.
Yeah.
But he's just going to
all
finish
he
with a
can do
Rosetta.
is Rosetta.
This
for
could be the
2,
turn
2
that
and 2.
Jason decides to. So he's got the Starstruck, and I think it's 3 blues. So he could potentially dominate the Starstruck, but he is gonna probably just keep 2 blues, use the Tunic counter to play the Starstruck out, use the last blue to prevent a bit of damage. Who needs to dominate, right? When you're pushing for your opponent's life total with your attacks.
Jason here looking to cover up more of that Rosetta. Time is ticking. We're on 5 minutes left in the round, as the other games for our round 10
just
is
going to keep
finishing
blocking
up now.
here.
Okay. So is that to say, did Jason take any arcane damage there? It looks like no.
Yeah,
Creepers has been
gone.
destroyed as a result. Since Jason
just going to get that Starstruck in the arsenal now. Decided not
This
to be
is
greedy.
tight trip.
Decided
This
to
is-
just keep swinging the hammer for 4. Creepers is
just-
gone because no arcane, like Sean was saying. Jason checking his watch. 5 minutes left on the round.
So Trip, why is Jason just seemingly quite happy to keep presenting the Titan's Fist here?
Well, because Damon's on 10 health, he just has to swing Titan's Fist 3 times, and suddenly Damon's out of life. If he keeps just pushing, keeps blocking, using his life as a resource very carefully, because we got to respect the Viserai. Sometimes they can come up with crazy turns, especially when you see Damon with 5 cards. Jason just playing very conservatively.
Yeah, Ziran, I think I did see Damon pitch to the Creepers there. So we see Damon here up against time. He's coming in with Moths guys into
the other
Deathly
thing, Sean,
Duet.
is that Damon's starting to get down to the point where a dominated big attack might be enough to just win the game. It's not quite there yet, I think. Damon's still got the 2 armor block to work with, and he's going to keep pushing damage here. He's going to come in for 4-3 and follow up with the 5 of the Rosetta.
With that Swarming Gloomveil, as we said, card to watch. Allowing Damon to go a little bit wider here, and this is what we were saying. Probably when life totals were closer to 30.
And now he's going to come in for 5. Jason needs to just to take this because he's used all of his cards to block with already. He's now down to 15, not able to swing back this turn. He's worked for a lot of Viserai's threats at this moment, managed to get Viserai now down to just a 4-card hand rather than a card, by forcing him to use the card in Arsenal.
As we said, the main round off stream was a couple minutes ahead, so time's been called on the round, but we've got 3 minutes left here between Jason and Damon. An interesting game. It's been almost like 2 phases to the game, really. You see both players speeding up as they recognize time
And
is
this is the
running
opportunity
out.
here. Damon is not drawn into what he needs to go wide again this time. He does have to lead the charge there, though. So he choose not to play the lead the charge there. Maybe it was the wrong for Vexing Malice, maybe. But this has given Jason space. That was the time. This is the time,
This
Jason.
is it.
Coming
Okay,
with the dominated Starstruck.
Dominate, Starstruck. Coming in for 10 dominate. Damon here going to have to utilize his equipment
to live on
in order
one
to
life.
live. Jason here really maximizing the time on the round.
Jason has perfectly used the time in this game. Got to give credit to Jason here to recognize that he felt like he could keep blocking, keeping his life total as high as he can, understanding that he has just enough time to close out this game. Damon now on 1. It's just going to take one more dominated attack from Jason to win this game. If it can come in for 8, he's covered with a 3 block and a sync in Arsenal, potentially. I don't think that's even what Damon has in the Arsenal, but that's what Jason has to consider. How could Damon survive a dominated attack? If he can come in for 8 here dominated, he has to feel confident that he can win this game. And he's even got a Tear Asunder to finish it off with.
Tear Asunder.
That's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Spinal
Coming
Crush,
in for
nothing
10.
Damon can do. And Jason winning that
sees it
game.
out.
You can see the relief on his face. Can't believe that. Absolutely fantastic play from Jason, I've got to say. Did not take the risky plays, even with the time on the round looking really tight. Recognized that he could finish it up. Absolutely fantastic. Wow, what a great game.
What a game.
Great game for turn 1 of this tournament, game 1 of this tournament. We're going to have to cut straight to the break before round 2 because it's coming up very shortly. We're not going to have time for an interview, unfortunately. Me and Sean are going to need to take a quick break as well. But we'll be right back with game 2. It's not going to be long, guys, because that game really went to time.